Jennifer, welcome to Progress Ohio.
Thank you.
You know, obviously, we're sort of a combination of a bunch of different organizations, and the progressive movement has a lot of meetings and things here. And when you called and asked to come by, I know that you've had some moderate positions in the party on abortion and on some DOMA issues and other stuff. So I guess I'd like to start off with saying, why did you feel it's important to come to a progressive hub like us? And how do you feel that plays into your role in the Democratic Party and in politics in the state?
Well, I think that we all agree and disagree on many different issues, but that it's important to continue the dialogue and to listen to one another, and that I value voters from every part of the state and every different ideology.
What would you say to somebody on like Senate Bill 176? I know the Gay People's Chronicle a while back wrote an article fairly critical of you, and I don't think anybody's really sort of found out where you are in your position and what we're going to do in terms of passage of the bill, where it's heading. But that, for our Progress Ohio members, that's our discrimination bill, anti-discrimination bill against almost all Ohioans, including the lesbian, gay, and transgender community. Where are you on that bill, and will that be voted on soon?
Well, that bill passed out of committee in June, and it would have been potentially able to get a floor vote before the break, except for the budget was so very difficult this time. With the changes in revenue projections, we were extremely busy and focused on trying to have an agreement with the Senate to get the budget bill to the governor. But I do support House Bill 176. I do not support discrimination in any fashion, and that I'm hopeful that it will get a vote in September. I mean, in fact, I've actually delivered a letter to Speaker Buttigieg's office and asked him to please schedule that for the floor vote sometime in September when we get back.
Okay, and as your role as majority leader, can you explain how that works? I mean, do you make that decision? How is that made?
Well, I manage the legislation once it gets to the floor.
Okay.
When we're on the floor in session, I'm the floor manager of that piece of legislation, of every piece of legislation, actually. But I don't make decisions on what gets to the floor. We advise the speaker. I advise the speaker, along with Todd Book, who's actually a rules committee. The bills come out of rules, and then we decide how much is out of rules. We give the list to the speaker, and we decide which bills to vote on. Then that is made in a larger conversation with the entire leadership team. But at the end of the day, I don't decide. I don't have enough authority to decide every piece of legislation that gets to the floor. Just advise the leadership team what legislation is ready for the floor, and this bill is ready, along with a number of other bills. I mean, that's the point here, is that there are a lot of bills that are ready, but because the budget was our focus and our priority, because we had a deadline of June 30th to get that out, that is where our time is spent, and we will be moving legislation in the fall that may have been ready before now, but that will get a vote in the fall.
And this is kind of a landmark bill, as I understand it, from a discrimination standpoint in the state, to get this out of the House. And it's good to hear, by the way, that you support that.
Well, I believe 21 other states actually have similar legislation they've enacted, and it's well vetted, and it came out of committee. I think it's a very good bill, and I do support it.
Great. One last kind of question. Obviously, and we've known each other for a long time and have known our differences on many different issues, from abortion to other issues. But on this issue, on DOMA itself, there's a lot of concern from progressives because of your position on DOMA, which is very different from my own personal view, as we've discussed in the past. And so now that you're supporting Senate Bill 176, what would you say to somebody who is so heavily invested in trying to deal with the DOMA issue, which is in the Constitution, and the differences of our opinions on that, as opposed to issues like 176 and other issues? I mean, not that there's a litmus test, but how do you deal with the Big Ten issue?
Well, I think that all of us, regardless of what group or issues that you advocate for. We have things that we agree on, and we have things that we disagree on. I am supportive of 176 because I do not believe in discrimination. And there are other issues that maybe Progress Ohio and you and I personally, we just,
Right.
we're friends, but we disagree. I think that both parties have to be big enough tent to attract many different voters. Our populations in the state in particular is incredibly diverse, and that fundamentally we need to be looking at fairness and trying to do what's best for all Ohioans. And quite frankly, that's why I'm running for Secretary of State. I think that I have a lot to offer. I've always been very supportive of transparency, and I know you may know, because you went to college down in my part of the state, that for the last 5 years I have outlined every bill that I voted on, because I think accountability is so important for elected officials. I pushed for our voting records here in the Ohio House to be on the website, because I think that accountability is so incredibly important. And fair, free, open, transparent elections are the cornerstone of what our democracy is built on. And that's why this position is so important. I really would like to continue to build on the successes of the last election, where we have record turnouts, where people, their vote counts, and we have more citizenry that is involved in this process. That is what I care about, and that's what I'm running for Secretary of State.
So again, I want to thank you for coming to Progress Ohio. Obviously, there are different issues that we agree and disagree on. But I do want to reiterate one last time that you believe that 176 will get to the floor, and you're supportive of it getting to the floor and supportive of the bill. And you believe that this anti-discrimination provision will be law in Ohio at some point.
Well, I believe that it will get to the House floor, and that it will indeed pass out of the House. There is support for that, bipartisan support, actually, if you take a look at who is supporting it, and even that there are Republican members that are sponsors of the bill. I don't really know what's going to happen in the Senate. I don't have any control over that, and so we need to make certain that it gets out of the Senate so it can get to the governor's desk.
That's been the big question all year, hasn't it? What's going to happen in the Ohio Senate? But
you probably have a better sense of that than I do. I've been pretty occupied in the House.
Thank you for your support on 176. The members of Progress Ohio have been very excited about this bill. We've been working on this bill for about 3 years, and we appreciate your support on that bill.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.